Outlaw Sports is brought to you by Molson Canadian, made from Canada, and Rocky Mountain Barbecue, Alberta barbecue cuisine at its best.
Are you ready?
Are you ready? Yes, I'm ready for love.
Don't be singing that here.
Are you ready?
My boyfriend's back and there's going to be some
It's
trouble.
one of the greatest Motown songs of all time. Are you ready?
I thought you said My Boyfriend's Back is one of those greatest songs of all time.
No, are you? Go on. Let's talk. Let's talk hockey.
Big time operator.
I'm getting nervous.
Mr. Coffey, we have to talk about things around the NHL. First of all, Bob Hartley.
We have to?
Yeah. Bob Hartley was put into a position.
Bob Hartley's not around the NHL. He's right here in Calgary.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But we will expand our thoughts. Bob Hartley, bring him back next year, Grant. I don't think anybody could have
Got 2 more years on the
produced
contract.
a winner. Yeah. No one could have produced
Well,
a winner.
wait a sec here. We get rid of coaches every. No, he's got 1 more year before we fire him.
Yeah.
Well, because we fire coaches around here. It's not the player's fault. It's not the skilled player's fault. It's the coach's fault.
I should have known.
Yeah. It's Bob Hartley's fault. The Flames are as bad as they are now.
What was the most disappointing thing?
Hang on. Let me finish. Hartley, okay. I love interviewing him. He's the most positive guy. I find him interesting. He's accessible. I like him professionally.
Sure.
The only thing is, isn't their number one job, if nothing else, to prepare guys to compete hard? Even if you're a bad team, no matter what sport it is, as a coach, you create that environment, that environment that you have your athletes competing hard. Haven't seen that. And that's my only knock against Bob Hartley. Yes, the Flames don't have a lot of talent, but still, up until the last few games, they weren't competing very hard.
Now, isn't that the culture of the environment? Now, I say that with going back in time a little bit too. Remember when Wally Buono took over as the head coach and GM of the Calgary Stampeders. What did Wally do? He got rid of all of the people that were around when they had their losing ways. All they knew was how to lose. Got rid of the offensive line, got rid of a lot of Canadian talent, and rebuilt. He didn't want the negativity in the locker room. And perhaps with the culture of the Calgary Flames, Bob Hartley has inherited that somewhat.
Oh, come on. The Flames have made changes year after year. I mean, look at the new players on this team this year. I would have bought them that a couple of years ago.
What's changed?
Jerome McGinley and Mika Kiprusoff are the only constant in the last 9 years,
What's
Mike.
changed? What's changed? It's a country club, Grant. It's negativity.
No, it's not. Is that you didn't listen to what I said to you earlier in the week, that they've fired coaches, they haven't gotten rid of the right player. Jerome McGinley stayed far too long with this team. His personality, his play, his aura in the room permeated far too long. Coaches in the past recognized that, wanted to do something about that, Mike, and weren't able to. So when you put the whole wide paintbrush that it's the Flames players, it's Jerome McGinley's influence in that dressing room has lasted far too long. So,
isn't that part of the culture, though?
But that's not the coach's fault. That is management's fault for not getting rid of him, which we've talked ad nauseum on this show for years. They should have done something. That's why I think it's a little bit more refreshing with Jerome gone now. Let's see what the culture is like. Let's see what Bob Hartley can do with this team. But still, I didn't see a lot of those veterans compete, which tells me there's probably not a good relationship right now between those veterans still with the Flames and Bob Hartley.
Isn't that what I just said? No matter who was on that team, Bob Hartley, who wasn't going to get a winning team with this bunch. And I still think it's the culture, including Jerome, including Kiprusoff, including whoever is left.
So how do you think that will change?
Well, scorched earth. Maybe it won't change, Grant. I don't know.
Well,
maybe it won't.
It has to change, Mike, if there's going to be if they're going to build a good team long term. So it's going to be like a Boston Bruin team or a Pittsburgh team or Chicago. Long-term success, It has to, Mike. There has to be some kind of semblance of, this is how we build a hockey team. This is what we want. They've talked the talk, but haven't walked the walk in building that team.
Well,
here's something I do fault Hartley and the hockey people on. What is the most glaring thing you see when you watch the Flames play right now? You've talked about it. What do you see when you watch a game in their own zone? What do
There's no physicality. They're not physical.
And in their own zone, it looks like,
brutal.
Whoa!
Yeah.
So who's the defensive coach there? Don't most coaching staffs have an ex-defenseman coaching the defense?
Yes.
Flames don't have that.
Especially with veterans like they had, Grant. That was the most. I was going to ask you.
Their coaching staff, Kluche has been around with Bob Hartley in his Denver days over in Switzerland and in Atlanta, I believe. Martin Gélin is new, so they have forwards coaching. And I wonder how much of a factor that is that they don't have an ex-NHL defenseman with coaching ability and expertise on playing defense on the coaching staff. That may have hurt this team this year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. What do you think has been the most surprising part of this whole decline? And I thought it was the way that veteran defensive...
looks scattered.
Yeah, it does. And
wide open oppositions all the time in the slot.
No threats, no checking the guys. It was wide open. The worst defensive team in the NHL.
Right.
Yeah.
And the stats prove that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you saw that on the ice, it's embarrassing. So those are the two things that I kind of look back now and blame Bob Hartley. Did you get your guys motivated to compete hard even though you didn't have the great talent? And secondly, what's with your defensive scheme here, pal?
Yeah.